Hey guys, and welcome to part 8 of the Baja build. In this one, we're going to be doing all the cosmetic stuff that we have left for the scooter and some little extra stuff that I kind of have to fix here and there. There's a few little things we got to tweak on this, and we'll just do that in this video too. Now, I was going to do this video at the very end of the build. This was going to be the last video in the series, but unfortunately, we are still waiting on parts that are out of stock. Now, since we are going to be doing these black plastics, we are going to be getting rid of the blue. So as much as this blue has grown on me, these plastics are going to go. These probably really would be perfect for an off-road build because they are a little scratched up and stuff, and I know these are going to get beat up. But the original vision for this bike was all black with purple accents. We're going to do blue because blue accents were a little easier to find. And blue's a Yamaha color, so I just thought it would match good for this. And speaking of purple pre-bugs, go check out Urban Rider's channel because they just built an 89 like this, but it was purple, white. That color combo was insane, so I'll leave a link for that in the description. Go check that out. I'm just going to go through the parts quick, and I'll show you guys what we bought and what we're going to be putting on in today's video. So these plastics right here, these are Brixia Moto plastics. This is what I originally got for the pre-bug. I got them in white, and I will say they are cheap, but they are not the best quality. They're not a painted plastic. They're just injection molded one color plastic. So unfortunately, you do get that fading from the UV. You can see this is the original plastics I got with this black trim piece and all that. I got it all as one kit. This is what it looked like after 1 year. So you can see it's a lot yellower than what it's supposed to be. Even on the back here, you can tell it's much yellower. So now I'm running these plastics, which I got from Scooter Tuning CA. And the reason why I didn't go with those to begin with is one, it's only this panel, this panel, this panel, which is not the same one that I'm running on here, and this front lip. It was about, I think, 250 bucks, almost 300 bucks for just those pieces. So just 4 plastics, or I think it might have had this top shroud too. So let's just say 5 plastics. They are painted though, so they're a lot better quality, and these ones I'm already noticing are not yellowing as near as fast as the other ones because they're black ABS plastic, and then it's painted and cleared on top. So a lot more UV resistant. These ones from Brixia Moto are just injection molded plastic. So it's the same finish you have on top as in the bottom. And as you can see, there are some inconsistencies and swirls on this. So these are not the best looking plastics. If you're just going for looks, these aren't going to be the best to do. And honestly, durability wise, the old white one that I had on this bike, both of these feet pieces cracked off too. And I wasn't riding that off road. I was just, buzzing around on the streets and stuff. So they're not the most durable. They aren't the most aesthetically pleasing, and UV resistant plastics. However, I did get these plastics for very cheap. They are cheap plastics. They sell them for 150 bucks, and you can get almost every plastic piece on the bike. So that's why I went with these, because I needed those other belly pans and stuff like that. So I will say in that sense, it did work out good, but I may need to replace just these two eventually. So if you do order these plastics, the only plastics you don't get in the kit are the VIN plate, this headlight bezel piece, and the shroud that goes under here on the bars. Everything else you get in the kit. Now in this specific one, I for some reason didn't get this piece. This one just didn't come with it, but I know when I ordered them for this bike, it did come with it. So just keep an eye on that on eBay when you order them. But most of the time you get almost everything you need. So yes, they are cheaper and you do get a lot for it, but they aren't as durable and as aesthetically pleasing as some other ones that you can buy. These next pieces that we have, these I actually bought from France. So the homie Colton told me that he bought one of these, and I saw these and I've seen these before, but I never knew where to buy them. And I saw these and I was like, I have to have these for that off-road build I'm going to do in the future, which I bought these way before I even had this bike. So I was accumulating parts for this like a year ago. So these I bought last winter after he told me about it. And I had to switch my location to France so I could go on the France version of eBay to message the guy and ask if he could ship them to the States. So it was a little bit of a thing, but he said yes. He hooked me up. They were like 400 bucks for the set, I think. So it was pricey, but I think it was well worth it because these are going to look awesome on this build. I have been seeing this front one quite a bit now because I think that seller then got hooked up with the Zuma Facebook page somehow. and then he's been selling them through there. So I have been seeing a lot of people rock this front piece in the States. I haven't seen anybody with this rear one, so this is definitely kind of a unique piece. Then over here, this one you guys saw in the last video, this is just that little oil plug that goes here. Then these are something that I worked on. I designed these. They are BAJA SCOOT graphics. Then over here, we have some random stickers and stuff that I got. We have some Scooter Swap Shop stickers that I bought that I thought would look sick on this, so shout out Scooter Swap Shop. And then we have this Team Calamari starter block off plate. Since we deleted the electric start, we're gonna take our starter out and throw this in here so it's not getting clogged up with mud. We're also gonna be throwing this in because the glass fuse that's supposed to be in this bike isn't in there. What happens a lot of time is they blow and you can't really find those glass fuses a whole lot anymore. So people just push the connectors together and you have a unfused electrical system. So we're gonna be throwing this in just to keep everything safe. I don't want any of the wires melting. Some of the wires actually did look like they were getting too hot and melting in here. So we're definitely gonna do this. And then I'm just gonna throw some extra fuses in here. Then we have a ZUMIN Zuma cup holder. So this is actually one that was made for somebody and the print got messed up, so I'm gonna use it on here. There's just some imperfections on it and I didn't want to sell it like this. So mostly the first layer shifted, so the bottom I had to cut off a little bit. But that'll mount up right here and it uses the factory holes, so that means no drilling into your plastics. Then we have our fanny pack under here, which that's the same Max Top Amazon brand fanny pack that I run. I've ran this on my uncle's Zuma, fits real good, and it fits these fanny pack clips perfectly. So once you have these installed, I can pull on these pretty good and they will not break. You can pull around the bike pretty good with those. Then here we have an NGK plug, wire, and this is some random coil, but that's all I had. The stock coil and wire is actually fine, but it's super short. And this one has it so you can run the full nipple on the plug, which I like because then you don't have to untwist the other ones all the time. And I feel like they hold on a little better. So we're just going to swap that out while we have this apart before we put the plastics on. And then this is the last thing we have. This is a new bracket for the 12 o'clock shadow specifically for these forks because these are 43 millimeter forks. And the ones that I sell for this are for 38 and 40 millimeter forks. So those are 38 and this one would have had 40 millimeter stock. So this is gonna fit on here a lot better now. This is the correct diameter for these forks. So we're gonna start with the little stuff like deleting the starter and doing the fuse holder. And then after that, we'll get into the rest of the makeover of the bike. So as you guys can see, this is what somebody did before. The fuse must have blew, so they just stuck this together. And you can kind of see the wire actually started melting because there must have been some other short on here, and you definitely don't want that. This is how you start your bike on fire or ruin your wiring harness, so make sure you are running a fuse right here. Since I have the gas tank right here, I'm using the soldering iron to shrink the heat shrink instead of an open flame. You can also use a heat gun too. All right, now I'm just throwing a 5 amp fuse in there. I'm not 100% sure if that's the size that glass fuse is that's supposed to be in here, but the size that this wire is, 5 amps should be fine. All right, we got that in. Everything's working good. Lights still come on, so that is good. Our cluster down here seems to be working. Awesome. All right, so now let's get into the starter delete. So we're gonna have to crawl under here and pull the starter out. Might need to open up the CVT cover and pull some of those gears out too. All right, so this is our starter right here. So we're gonna have to pull these off and then reattach our ground on there. There we go. So I pulled the positive off of this, but I can't get the bolt that holds the ground on there. So we're just gonna cut it, and then I'm gonna crimp on a new ground eyelet, and we're gonna screw that on to our plate once we put the block off plate in there. You do need to keep the ground on here somewhere. So if you delete this, you have to stick it back on one of those holes to ground the rest of the engine. Otherwise, you will have electrical issues and you will have issues with your spark. All right, so now we can stick our Team Calamari block off plate in there. It fits perfect, perfect seal, so definitely won't be getting any dirt in there. All right, the block off plate is installed in there. We have it still grounded, so bike should start up and everything just fine. I almost forgot, but we are gonna swap out this coil too, so we can run the nipple on the plug. So this coil has a screw that screws into the plastic, and then it has a screw that goes into the frame. And a little bit ago, I realized that the one that goes in the frame, the nut that's welded on the back is actually cracked. So while I haven't noticed any issues with it as of right now, we will have to weld that in the future because that is our ground for our coil. So if that ground gets loose or not making a good connection, we're gonna lose our spark or have a weak spark. Since it is working right now though, I am gonna leave it. That'll kind of be a winter thing that I'll take care of that during winter. So that old one was just a little short, and I think that somebody might have cut both ends and maybe tried to re-screw it on the coil, because if you don't know, these actually come apart. You can unthread these, cut your coil, clean it up, and then re-screw it on to get a better connection. It almost just looks like a wood screw in there. I don't know if you guys can really see the screw on the inside, but it basically just screws into that wire. So you can do this basically any coil and any plug boot. So if you have to replace your plug boot or replace the coil or anything, I technically could have just taken this off and screwed it onto the other one, but that was a little short for my liking. Now, since we did mess with a lot of electrical stuff, that being the fuse, the ground for the starter, and the ignition, I am just going to start this up and make sure it does still start and ride fine. Well, I did just start it up and take it for a quick run. It does start and ride fine. And honestly, it feels a little bit better, but that might just be my brain messing with me a little bit. But for some reason, it feels a little peppier to me, which the only thing that could have changed that is maybe the spark was a little weak if that ignition coil was acting up. But now that we have all of that taken care of, we can jump into putting the plastics on. Now, I'm going to do these. And then before I put the graphics on these, I'm gonna mount these two bars up to make sure these aren't gonna be in the way of the factory locations of the graphics. We might need to shift them around a little bit. So I got the front and rear rack on. I didn't film myself doing these because I had to kind of mess around with them a little bit. This is going to be kind of hard to explain, but basically this bracket that's welded on here, it looks like there's a right and a left one. So this one has a taper up, and you can see it's sitting straight with the bar, like it's 90 degrees from the bar. It looks like the one on the other side was supposed to have the left side one, but they put a right side one, because you can see this is sitting at an angle, and this taper, instead of going up this way where it would nicely meet up with this hole here, it's off to the side. So this one's going this way, the other one should be opposite, but it's not. It's also tapering up this way. So they used this same side on the other one, and it's making, basically this hole's here, and on the other side the hole's going this way. So that was not really fitting how it should, which is kind of unfortunate. I should have tried those when I bought them, but honestly, from where I bought them from, I don't know if the guy would have even gave me a refund or anything anyways. I mean, these are all handmade, so it's same as the racks. Those are all hand welded together. You know, somebody's got to do it, so none of them are exactly the same, but this definitely is not the right bracket that should be on there. And then the other issue is it is really hitting the front here. It's like smushed totally against the plastics. So I'm not too happy with the fitment on there, but you know, it kind of is what it is. Eventually I was going to put a bag here too, like a tail bag was going to go in the front from an XT, so it had the Yamaha logo on it, which we still might do, because I think it would look kind of sick. Give it a little more of a off-road adventure bike look. And then the rack, we had to bend this piece out because it was hitting the plastics, and we had to bend this piece out because it was hitting the tail light, and you can see it's super close. But we do have everything kind of mounted up and mocked up for now. So I'm not 100% happy with how it fits, but I do think it looks pretty sick, and I'm definitely glad I got both of these because they match really good, and it just gives it that little more of an aggressive look. So I think I am going to print a little thing for this that can sandwich around it and kind of make that hardware fit a little better, so it doesn't look like there's just a bolt going straight through there. And then I think I'm going to print some little black caps for the end of these. All right, we're back out here ready to finish up the decals. This morning I did 3D print some stuff. I made this little bushing piece that's going to go in between here, so now this is a lot more sturdy and it's not rubbing up against the plastic, so that kind of fits a little better, but it does push this a little more into our fender here, so kind of sucks. Again, like I said, I'm kind of disappointed with the fitment of this, but it is what it is, and you know, we're going to thrash this thing off-road anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. And then I also did print these little rubber TPU caps, just so water and stuff like that doesn't get into the end of these. You can see this is what they look like. So they just slide in right here, nice tight fit. That way we just don't get anything rattling down into that end of the bar. So here you guys go. This is what the decals look like on the bike. They're definitely pretty flashy, but still a little subtle because you can't tell on camera, but they are pretty dark unless you hit them in that light, which is kind of why I went with the holographic, just to keep it not super, you know, not a super flashy bright blue, but once they hit the sun, you definitely see them. I will say these ones were way harder to apply than these ones, and I think that's because the holographic just has a thicker film to it. The decal itself is just a lot thicker. So that being the case, I am going to put these ones a little bit cheaper on the site because they are kind of hard to work with. These will be, the Baja and the Sport Scoot ones will be the same price. I think I have these for about 40 bucks, maybe a little less than that. These ones maybe we'll do like 35 or something like that. All right guys, so here it is all shined up. Definitely looks better, but again, these plastics still are not the best. You can kind of see there's some like streaking in here, and that's not on the surface. That's like in the plastic from when it was molded. So again, if you guys want, you know, your plastics to be perfect, and you're not afraid of spending some money, then definitely go with some painted plastics. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, these are not the best plastics, but like I said, I got these more just so I had all the extra panels and stuff, and they are cheap, so you do get what you pay for. If you guys are liking this build so far, and there's anything else that you guys want me to add to it, definitely let me know down in the comments. But that's pretty much gonna do it for this one, guys. Like I said, I'm gonna be showing you guys how to do powder coating at home in the next video, so definitely stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.